Hello makers, and welcome back to the studio. This week, I want to share with you a new collage project we're going to be working on together. And this time we're going to use kind of maybe an unusual form of media, and that is going to be comic books. Now, when I was a child, I had quite a good collection of comic books going, and I still have bits and pieces left over from my childhood, as well as going out and buying comic books in bulk. Now, I'll share with you in the link below how you can do that if you want to get some comic books that you can frankly cut up and do other things. And what I want to work on today is a project that is similar to some things I've worked on in the past. And if you look inside my gallery, there is a section called the Golden Age. And this has to do all with comic book art. And one of the things I want to point you to, there are a couple that are still in here. One is called Fubar, the other is called Snafu, and they're all sound effects taken from comic books. So we're going to make a smaller version of that. I have, it's going to be a finished, an 8x12 version of it, which is going to make things a little bit faster, because these take a long time to create. When you're going through and you have an 18x24-inch sheet of paper and you're just cutting out little tiny pieces of paper to stick in there. It can take quite a bit. Now, it's still going to take probably a few hours to do what I need to do here, but let me show you what the process is. So I've gone through a few of the comic books that I have, and what I'm looking for are the sound effects. Now, I will share with you, in my experience, that a lot of the older comic books have the good sound effects. A lot of the newer ones, for some reason, it's not as a big a thing to have the sound effects thrown in here, but some of the older ones are great. Like, here you go. You got Kraum, or whatever the heck that is. And so what I'll do with something like that is I'll say, all right, you know what? We've got a good candidate for a sound effect, and I'm just going to isolate it. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to cut it out, maybe get a little what's around it, just try to get a sense of the action. But my focus for this project is getting the words. I want to just have something that if we combine these all together and put these all together in a collage, it's just going to be, it's going to be quite literally a cacophony of printed noise, all right? And so it will end up in our page something like this. Let's see what else we have. By the way, sometimes when you're working on a page, you might have to determine, am I working, you know, is a sound effect on this side or this side? I might get in the way. If I cut one side, I might ruin the other side. I might actually be able to get both sides here. So I kind of like whatever this sound effect is. Crunk, crunk, crunk. And we'll get that trimmed out. Looks pretty good. There we go. There's another sound effect. And I'm just going to have a little bit of a collection. Oh, good. We have another one. We can grab this, this bonk on the other side here. So get that cut out. And looking good. All right, so there we go. So you're going to be creating a fair amount of scrap along the way. So make yourself a pile of whatever makes you happy. And I'm just going to go through and cut a whole bunch of things. Now, I'm going to give you an opportunity if you want to follow along. This is really a good time to put on your favorite podcast, maybe listen to an audiobook, flip on the TV if that's your sort of thing. But something, because this is going to take a while, and I don't know exactly how long. It could take hours, depending on what you're working with. But what I want to do is come up with a good collection of sound effects. And I'm going to start organizing them based upon really their general size. And we'll talk about how that works in the next little bit. But for now, I'm going to go through my pages, through my stack of comics. I'm going to find some suitable sound effects that I can isolate. And then when I'm done with that, I'll come back and I'll show you how we put them all together. See you in a few.
Several months later.
Okay, welcome back. Now, it's probably been about an hour or so of going through a number of different comics and, yeah, searching and finding all sorts of great sound effects. As you can see, I have quite a few. Now, I've sorted mine into different piles. And the reason I've done this is I've learned from experience that if you start with the larger pieces and say, okay, let's kind of get these spread out within whatever our final project is going to be, then you can take the less large ones and start to fill in the white spaces, and then less large and less large until you get down to your pile of smaller and you fit those in whatever's left over. Now, it's entirely possible I have too many pieces in here already for the size of paper I'm working with, which is fine. If I have some leftovers, I can use those in a future project. But for now, it's really just a matter of just arranging things, and I find, once again, from experience that random works pretty well here. So I'm working with my Amazon Basics glue stick here, a standby here for me, and I'm going to work with a gluing sheet. I just have a piece of just good old plain copier paper here, and it just gives me something if I want to drop one of my gluable pieces down here, and then just make sure I get paste all over it. That way I just don't get extra glue on my finished product. And then I'm going to just drop that in there like that. Pow! All right, let's do the same thing with the other larger pieces here, and then we'll start filling in some of the other spaces, some of the white space. So we're going to just take this methodically and just, again, there's no right answer on how anything gets placed. I have made a decision that from a visual standpoint, I want the readability of everything to be, how we would normally read it, instead of being upside down, let's say. So I'm going to try to align everything so it's reading from left to right best I can. Some of the pieces I have in here, though, are actually designed to go up and down, so I might need to think about how to fit those in as well. So no right answer. We're gonna put these in a way that's going to help us to, again, just create kind of an interesting final project that's going to be based upon the random placement of all of these sound effects. And let's get this one like that. Okay, press those down nice and firm. And by the way, the comic book paper just glues particularly well. It just goes down and it stays down, so kind of nice. All right, let me move to my next smaller pile. Again, some of these are pretty big as well. And let's just, again, we'll fill in white space. That is our objective here. Fill in the white space best we can. Put some white space right there, right there. Okay. And this is kind of a fun one. And let's get you right up in, I'll put you kind of dead center. It's a really compelling sound effect to put in here. All right, what else do we have? And again, I may not use all of them. Like that one I may hold off, just keep it to the side for now. See if there's a need for it. I don't want it to be all big pieces here. And I'm also just trying not to, line them up in any kind of vertical lineage here. Make it just a little bit more random. It's one of the things about abstract that really, I think, appeals to my sensibility is I do appreciate just the randomness of design at times. And when things don't line up, I think they end up looking a lot better. And again, if you're, there are times you're dealing with geometric art where symmetry and alignment make a lot of difference. And in other cases, I think it's even more fun to just have things that really just seem very organic. We got a carumble here. Let's get this in into our piece. We got a flat edge over on this side, so maybe this is the kind of thing that will go kind of up to the edge. I don't know. Again, we can do whatever the heck we want. We're in charge of this thing. Okay. Get you right in there. Right in there. And I'll put this one closer to the top, I think. Start filling some of that white space in. And how about you go over here? Okay. So I'm going to grab a piece of paper towel. One of the things I do deal with every so often is when you're using your glue sticks, you get a little bit of squirt coming out the side there. And sometimes I just come in here and just wipe it off. Just makes it a little bit more manageable again. So we don't have a lot of extraneous stuff. All right, I'm going to my next larger pile of stuff. And again, I'm going to start looking at some of the smaller white spaces where I can drop these guys in. And I'll start with, no. And we'll see if we can find a place for this. And let's get you, I'm going to put it right up in there's corner. That's kind of fun. All right, there we go. Time for a whack. Okay, and fit you right in the midst of things right there. And it's coming together. And what's really fun with this kind of thing is if you're building yours or something similar, I find if you take pictures of it while it's developing from point to point, it's really interesting to see the progression later on. You're like, oh my goodness, it doesn't look like much. And as it fills in, it gets more and more interesting and richer. So Let's get this in here. And I'll put that right up, right at the top, right in there. There we go. All right, what do we got here? Comp. Some of these are rather hard to pronounce. You know, I do think of these comic book artists as also being, you know, sound effects. What is it called? Foley, right? I think that's in the movies when you're the person responsible for making sound effects. I think it's a Foley artist, if I remember correctly. And I guess as a comic book illustrator, you kind of had to be your own Foley artist along the way. And I wonder what kind of, you know, rules there were on what a sound effect should sound like. Because pizzash is not the kind of word I use on a regular basis. All right, let's see. We got enough. Ah, yeah, that's a good one. I'll get that in there. Okay, let's see. You know what? I like this one. I'm going to put it right around here. Some of the things, you know, sometimes when I look at these, I think, you know, visually, if we're looking closer to the center, what are the kind of more interesting things that may go there? And sometimes it's just a matter of the words that are being used, and sometimes it's just how good they look. You know, you don't think about it, but there's a certain quality of artistry for some of these different sound effects as well. So, badoom, right up there. All right, I've got another one that's going to kind of come in at an angle. I may not have you know what? I think it will fit right in there. And this is where we're going to have to start. It's almost like putting together a puzzle after a while. I have to figure out, do I have a space that will fit what I want to do here? So I'm going to say, how about whoosh kind of comes in through here. You know, bring it, there we go. Still want to leave some white space between them. I'm going to try not to have these guys overlap. If we don't need to overlap them. We got whoop. Whoop, there it is. And where am I going to put that right over here? Let me just try to press these all down firmly so they don't come back up. All right, do I have a couple in here? And again, I may not use all of them. I may look for those that are going to do a better job. Here's a good one. Yeah! So, yeah, it is. Let's get this in here somewhere. And I think, yeah, might fit right here at the bottom. Yeah. Lots of key yas and yas going on in here. Of course, you know, if you've ever raised a child, you're familiar with this word here. This is the word no. We'll get that in there. No. Probably not said by a child. And I'm going to put it right there. Fun. All right, let's see. I may not use that one. This one's a little hard to see. And what do we have here? I'm going to have a splash and a thwap and a crack. Crack. It's 2 syllables right there. Crack. All right, so here's a thwap, and put that right there. Thwap. Let's get a crack in here. And I might put this toward the middle. We have a big, relatively speaking, large white space right here that needs a bit of a fill. And let's get a splash in here. I think I know where this is going to go. And again, sometimes based upon the shapes we have, you kind of find some white space that will fit them. I'm going to put the splash right in there like that. Okay. I think we'll just put those in a pile of things to be decided later. And I'm going to be moving to my next smaller pile. And again, we may have more pieces than we're going to need in the long run. I have a nice vertical one here. That will fit right there. So let's make sure we can kind of fill in some of our vertical space, especially on the edge, because sometimes the edge ends up with a lot of extra white space. Ka-ching, right there. All right, let's see what else we have. Thwack, womp, slam. That's a teenager telling you that they're unhappy with your decision to make them go clean their room. That's what that is right there. And again, if you've raised children, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Or if you've ever been a teenager, you probably know what I'm talking about. All right, let's see. Prink. Okay, let's make it happen. Prink, prink, prink. Not sure where to fit this in. Maybe we'll go right in there. It will. It fits in there beautifully. Nice. Womp. Looks like we have some space up at the top. We'll find some homes for these. I'm going to put you right up here. How about that? There we go. And chuck. Let's see if we can do, chuck will go right there. That's what's going to happen. All right, so again, I've got some good white space to work with here, and I still have quite a few things. I've got another crack. Get this in here somewhere. I'm going to put it right in there, just like that. And wipe my glue off again. Make sure I prevent the smear from happening here. I've got spitooch. That's what I've got. Ask for it by name. All right, spitooch. And let's get that right in there. Like that. And kablam blam. Something's going on. Sounds a little violent. And let's get that right in right. Maybe a tiny little bit of overlap. Nothing major. I want a little bit of white space also to kind of separate these guys in the long run. And again, you know what? By the way, there's no right answer. You could come in here and just start dropping things on top of other things if you wanted to, if you had enough of your sound effects, and create a very different look and feel. We'll see where this goes. Oftentimes I'm the last one to know what this is going to look like. I'll work on it, and I'll do what kind of the paper tells me to do. I'm looking, in this case, like, what can I put in that spot? What can I use to fill that space in a little bit? This one looks like it's going to be at a bit of a diagonal. So, do I have, well, let's see. I'm going to put it right there. All right. Yeah, I realize some of the stuff that I'm working on is kind of out of scope here. Let me pull this down a little bit so you can see actually what I'm building up there. That's going to be more fun. It's going to be a lot more fun. All right, let's see what we have here. And I still have even smaller pieces here to kind of fill in whatever is left over. Let me go, I've got a creek here. I'm going to start tapping into my smaller pieces here again. This is going to help us fill in. And who knows, I might actually go back to some of the ones I've rejected because they're going to fill in a little more space. So let's get this one. I'm going to put it down in this lower corner. Fill that in. Good. And I hope you get a chance to try a project like this. I know it's one thing to watch somebody do artwork, but it's also a lot more fun to get your own take on this. And so, again, some of you may already have stacks of old comic books. Now, I will just say, for your own peace of mind, if you were looking at a comic book and thinking, should I cut this up? It's not a bad idea to just take a moment and say, let me go to an online comic pricing guide. Yeah, there are a whole bunch of them websites where you can go and say, I wonder what this thing is worth on the marketplace. Now, I went through a few that were worth just a couple bucks, and there were a couple bucks to buy them 30-something years ago, 40 years ago. So they haven't really appreciated it in a great way, and I didn't feel too bad going in and giving them a new life, as it were, because I think what we're creating here is worth a few bucks. It's not a bad thing to be able to have a new creation, kind of we're recycling, as it were. But if it's something that turns out you could actually, pay your children's tuition with instead, yeah, maybe don't cut that one up. I don't know an awful lot about the pricing of comic books, if I'm being honest. I know that there are some that are very valuable and others that are not so much. All right, let's get I like this yard. I think I'm going to put this closer to the center. I still have a couple of spaces in here that should work. There we go. That's kind of fun. I don't know. Part of me's thinking I might need to go back into the comics and do a little digging and see if I can find some more pieces. We may run out of pieces before we run out of white space, as it so happens. Let's see if this will fit in anywhere we currently have. That'll. Another thwack in here. And I've got a shook, and I've run out of my small pieces. Now, what I may do is I may go and rate a few more comic pages and see if I can find some smaller pieces to fit in. I'll be honest with you, again, I have some more white here, over here. So I think I need to go in and find something that's going to really work out for me here. But as proof of concept, what I wanted to be able to share with you today is really what we're doing here. Is this idea of, can we create a collage just out of sound effects from old comic books? And it turns out we can. I think this is really good. It's really fun. What I may do, and again, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, what I may do is go back and cut quite a few more pieces and use it to really cover all of the white space. So there's going to be things overlapping other things, but when it's done, it's going to be a full collage. No white space showing through, and everything that's going to be visible is going to be the sound effects. I think it's going to be a much better look. So I may reveal that in a future episode, or I may just put it up on the website into my gallery, and you can check it out there. I'll let you know, by the time I create the video, I'll have a sense of how this turns out and be able to share with you what's going on. But I want you to just know from proof of concept, this is what we're trying to do. And I encourage you, again, this is an easy project. It can be really fun. Give it a try. Give it a try. That's really the whole purpose of this 1 hour masterpiece, is just give these things a try. And every time you sit down and you take some time to yourself, it's really good for your head. It really is an opportunity. And a lot of times in our busy lives and our stressful lives, this is a time to dump the head trash. That's one of the things that drew me into art. It's going through some really difficult times, and by sitting down and focusing and creating something just made me feel better. Right? Good mental health. Like, hey, I created something. And even if it's never going to see the light of day, maybe if you're not selling this to anybody, you may hang it on your own wall. But just the act of creating is so powerful and can really just kind of cleanse us from within. So that's what I want you guys to do. So yeah, it's a little goofy. I'm going to admit it. It's kind of a goofy thing to do. But at the end of the day, it's also harmless, can be incredibly fun, and look good. So I'm going to work on this some more. I think there's definitely some more to go here. So you'll be able to see what this looks like before I do, as it turns out. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this project. And again, if you enjoyed what we've done here today and you want to spend more time working on some other hands-on follow-along projects, I drop a 1 hour masterpiece video at least once a month. And I want you guys to be able to jump on in and just feel free to participate and be part of what's going on. Again, if you like what we've done here today and you're not yet a subscriber, easy to do. Just hit that subscribe button. Every time we drop a new video, we'll let you know what's going on. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Really enjoyed the time we spent together, and let's do this again real soon. This is Spider, and I'll see you next time.